I love this time of day. We are here, just so you know you're in the right place, for Be Strong Families webinar series, Staying Strong and Positive for Ourselves and Our Children. And we're like rounding out week something like 38 or 39. We've been going strong since March, since the middle of March. And we're just trying to be here with the community, for the community, learn together, hold each other up, get a little something professionally, get a little something personally, and want to wish everybody a happy Friday. Ask you to open your Zoom webinar chat and do like I did. Address it. Oh, I didn't do it. I did it wrong. Address it to all panelists and attendees and say hi and where you're joining from. Good morning from Oakdale, Myra. Hi, Maxine from New Jersey. I'm joining from Evanston, Illinois. I'm here with Kassia Eide, who will introduce herself with her title and everything a little bit more, but I've known Kassia for a good long time now, right?
Like it's been 10 years since I went to training. Yep.
Yeah. And Kassia is a board member of Be Strong Families and family engagement coordinator where she works. And we will, she has hosted this kind of an interactive conversation. This is all conversation. This is all about riding the Coronacoaster, holiday edition. So Kassia is going to lead, and I'm just going to read the chat, and we're going to welcome you all to be part of the conversation. And there are two ways that you can be part of the conversation. Two ways to engage. The first one, that's your cue, Selena, to advance the slide. Right. The first one is the chat. So if you want to say something, the chat is always open to you. I'll be minding the chat. You can ask a question, you can answer a question, you can talk to each other in the chat. The chat is yours. The other way is to raise your hand. And for this kind of a conversation, the hand raising works really well because then we can hear you. Selena, who's in the background, will unmute you. You'll need to unmute yourself and then you'll be able to talk. But we really hope that some of you will
And it seems
back.
Yes, Kathy is, there we go.
Apologize. We're having
technical difficulties. It says my internet is unstable, but I know what the agreements are. And a lot of you already know what the agreements are because you've already agreed. So the agreements for the webinars are to speak from your own experience, use I statements, treat other people the way you want to be treated, and be here now. Also, if you need a minute, take a minute. So those are our agreements. If you can agree to these agreements, type I agree in the chat. Hi, Tammy. Good to see you. Hi, Bridget. Hi, Christine. Joy's back. Awesome. I feel like I have a bunch of friends. I'm sitting around with a bunch of friends. Maxine, Azucena, Linda, Jennifer. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, Kassia, it's yours now. Take it away.
Well, thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Selena. Thanks, everybody, for being here. The Coronacoaster, I found it on Facebook one day when I was trying to come up with a good title for a webinar. I said, I don't even know what I feel. And when I saw that, I thought that was the perfect way to describe the last, what'd you say, Kathy, 39 weeks of our lives or more. So yeah, it's like being on a roller coaster every day. You're not really sure what's going to happen, what news is going to come out, but just happy to have you guys here. And I did do these previously in the summer, but we switched up the questions. And like Kathy said, I want this to be meaningful for you guys. And so it's just really an open conversation. I've got some guiding questions and we'll just be able to go through and get to know each other. And so again, my name is Kassia, and I actually just got a promotion at work. So I am now a manager of family engagement at the Fox Valley United Way. We work with families that have children birth to 5 and helping them to ensure that their kids are successful in school and life. And I've also been a board member for a long time. And I don't even know, I think like 8 years. And then I've been trained in parent cafes since 2010. Like I said, it's been 10 years, which the best 10 years of my life, because I met
You're still doing
absolutely the best
cafes,
people.
right, Kassia? You're still doing cafes, right?
Oh, yes. Yep. I've been doing cafes. Actually, I have learned to do them over Zoom, and it's been a challenge, but I mean, parents still need to be connected. So it's been really great. So if you want to move the slides, Lena. So, I mean, the obvious, everything's different this year. Gathering for holidays, I'll share personally. My parents live out of state. I live in Illinois. My parents live in Minnesota. I'm the only child. My daughter is the only grandchild, and it's just every year we go see them. And so we talked about it. My parents said, "Oh my gosh, we want you to come. We haven't seen you in a year." We didn't go at all over the summer. And so, we went ahead, and even though it's a short trip, we always buy plane tickets, because if anyone here is familiar with the Midwest, there is snow a lot in the winter. So driving is a little scary sometimes. And then a couple weeks later, they said, we've been thinking about it. We don't want to get sick. We don't want you guys sick. So we went ahead and canceled. So I'm just kind of in this feeling of like, I don't even know what to feel about the holidays. So, we just had Thanksgiving and, all the different holidays that people celebrate. So I want to open it up. What has been different for your family this year in the celebration of the holidays?
Either in the chat or raising your hand. And as usual, I'll fill space while waiting for somebody else to to think about it and respond. But I think what's different in terms of Thanksgiving, it was different. Like I've said this before, we have two different Thanksgivings. One is when we all get together, and then on off years, each of us does it on their own. So my normal on your own, it was going to be an on your own year. And this year, and usually I have an Ethiopian Thanksgiving because I have adopted Ethiopian kids, and we have Ethiopian food, and I make some of it, I buy some of it the day before, and then I invite other people, just that there's, I invite a few other guests of, to round out the table. And so this year, the way it was different, we still did the Ethiopian food, but the way it was different, two ways. One was there were no guests, so which felt hard for me, because it wasn't like we usually have a lot of guests, but some of the guests are people that I know, who, like a homeless man who and I just didn't feel safe or comfortable because of his circumstances, having him in the house because of fear of getting sick. So I that didn't happen. But one of the things that did happen that was, I think we'll try to keep going in the future, is I had FaceTime with each of the elders. So my mother and my aunt and my why isn't there more in the chat? Come on, everybody. Yay. Yay. So anyway, so we did the FaceTime with the elders, and that was really cool because they were on their own as well, but it was nice to kind of like have, and we did it one by one instead of like a Zoom, so that we could talk, because we just thought it would be more confusing for them if we had them all together in a Zoom. So we had one-on-one FaceTime. Maxine says the get-togethers this year, it's all been virtually. Linda said, we live close to the grandchildren. We stood outdoors most of the time they were visiting. And my mother passed away from COVID. So sorry for your loss, Linda. My father did too. Azucena, very difficult. My family resides in Mexico and I know I can't go visit them. Luan says, the family interaction has been limited. And Michelle says, we're not going to be able to do any of the 4 family Christmas parties we usually attend. So that feels weird. Some of my family members have COVID, so I'm really concerned for the health of my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. Angelica says it's smaller. Dorothy says, my Thanksgiving was different because usually all the family comes together, and this time one group of people came at a time, another group comes later. And Christine says, everything is different. Really going to miss baking with my kids and all the family, and my mom always saves certain ornaments for us all to hang once we get to their house. This year, the kids and I put the tree up right after Halloween. Mandy says, not much different for us. We just moved the tables outside to eat. We have a small family that's local, so that helps. Tammy says we plan to travel to Rhode Island, but have since changed our mind. And Michelle says the upside is I have more time with my kiddos. We watched a movie last night. And usually our schedule is so packed we don't have any time to actually sit down. And Lauren said I actually really enjoyed the lack of hustle and bustle for Thanksgiving. My husband and I had our own Thanksgiving with a whole turkey and everything. We did a Zoom chat with in-laws, but I really honestly loved the low-key Thanksgiving. So that's, thank you for all that robust participation. I love it. It's awesome. And Kassia, you said that this year, like you're getting a tree and you haven't had a tree before because you went to your.
I mean, we have a tree, you know, a cheap tree in a box. It's been sitting in a box for several years. I mean, my daughter now is 17. So when she was little, of course, it was a big deal to put up the tree and put some things under it and decorate. And it just, over the years, we have cats. And so it just kind of become like, well, we're going to be out of town and we leave the cats. And so we don't want to leave cats in a tree together. That's a recipe for disaster. So yeah, but my daughter the other night, I came home and she's like, I hope you don't mind, I'm putting up the tree. So, and you know, that's a cool thing. Like, you know, we're not going to be able to see my parents this year, but at least we'll have our own little tree. It shows that somebody's got their hand raised. I don't know.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Awesome. I wasn't minding that, but that we can recognize Joy. Joy, you have to unmute yourself and then you can talk, we'll be able to hear you. Joy? Joy? It's still muted. Selena, is there some issue with that?
She just has to unmute herself. I don't have the.
Okay, so Joy, you need to unmute yourself. Do you know how to do that? All right. Well, when you figure...
She did it.
Oh, good. Joy?
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you. Awesome.
The funny thing is I didn't put up my hand, but anyhow, maybe I'm here.
It was a sign that was a sign that you have something to share with the group.
Yes. Well, for my Thanksgiving, we had a small gathering, just us in the house. And it was so different because normally we would have this big lots of cooking. And this time it was just a little bit because we didn't want to have food and leftovers and then throw away and stuff. But we had a great Thanksgiving. And we're still thinking about what to do for Christmas because I guess we have to do the same thing. Everybody stay at their place and we just do FaceTime. It's a really hard period, but we have to follow the CDC guidelines and do what we have to do so that we can all be safe.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you very much. Linda says she decorated early too and more than usual. And that I've noticed that in my family too. It seems like there's a lot of robust decorating going on. This is my mother's first Thanksgiving. My father passed away the end of October. So this is my mother's first, Christmas by herself. And she did a ton of decorating and she sent us all pictures and, all of that. And then I guess she is going up to see my sister, for Thanksgiving. For Christmas. She's going to fly and quarantine in Philadelphia, I guess, for a couple weeks. But it would be too hard to be alone, to be all alone I think.
Thanks. Selena, let's change to the next question, please. Thank you. So, I think that was kind of a segue. I think it's really important that we acknowledge that things are different and acknowledge the way that we may be feeling about it, and within families, one person may feel a certain way, children may feel differently. So what are some of the emotions that you and your family have experienced over the past few months, especially related to holidays? Like I said, I feel this it just kind of feels strange because I said I'm the only child. I've spent every single Christmas of my entire life with my family, with my parents. And, even though it's not a big deal, it's just, the two of them, myself, my daughter. But just not opening like the traditional presents that we always get. My mom, she loves shopping. So she spends the entire year like collecting earrings on clearance sale for me. And like, that's just like my daughter said the other day, she's like, Mom, you're not going to get your box of earrings this year. You know, just things like that, that um, typically wouldn't stand out. Like it's kind of a running joke in our family that, oh yeah, which present under the tree is the box of earrings. But like just that feeling of like, oh, like we're not going to do that this year. It just feels kind of bleh. I don't know if that's a feeling, but that's kind of the way I'm feeling about, everything. So how about some of you guys?
I have a rough time often naming the feeling, but when you say what, I kind of resonated with it just in terms of, I feel like, I don't know if shell shocked is a feeling or just like, it's like a numbness or something. It's just like, I'm trying to be very open and present to whatever is and respond as well as I can. But I'm just aware that it's a totally different level of overwhelm that's happening. And that's not directly related to the holidays. The holidays are just, the holidays actually seem very minor right now to me. They just don't seem like, usually this time of year, it's a big focus. But right now, the holidays just seem so in the background with everything else that's going on. Linda said it's something to focus on besides the controversial things going on. I think that's why we're doing more in some cases. There is definite sadness with all that's going on. And Angelica says, I feel mixed. And Michelle says, my kids are bummed that they won't be able to see their cousins. And I'm kind of bummed too. I genuinely love hanging out with my siblings and parents, and that won't be happening this year. We're trying to find fun ways to make hanging out at home special, but truthfully, I'm kind of over being at home. Amy says, stress. I'm trying to prepare for the holidays. Pre-pandemic was stressful enough, but now with COVID, it's a little bit of a trigger for increased stress.
Yeah, I can totally understand. Like, it's like you hear on the news every day, well, we hope people don't get together. And then you hear about people that are getting together. And, even with the schools, I mean, here, the school district where I live, they've told us probably 5 different times, like, you're going to be able to go back to school in person. And, my daughter is just like, I don't even care anymore. Just want to get through this year, but it's like just that unknown. And now it's like that fear of, if people do get together, then it'll push so many things back. More people are going to be exposed and ill. And it's just, like, I don't even want to turn on the news anymore.
Christine says same thing here, Kassia. Tammy, I'm worried about my mom being lonely. She usually goes all out doing shopping and preparing for everyone to be in town. She hasn't been able to do that. She and my dad closed the family business in August, so they're now on a fixed income. And now with no one coming to visit, she just sounds sad. They're considering going to see my sister and her kids for Christmas, but they just aren't sure it's safe to travel since my dad had heart surgery a couple months ago and is preparing for another one. And Luan says, my daughter's been in the hospital since before Thanksgiving. Oh my gosh, Luan, prayers for her. The holiday feeling distant and limited access to her due to the pandemic. That is so hard. And I know a number of people who are going through that with loved ones in the hospital, and the rules about the pandemic where only one person can see them, sometimes for the whole day, like only one person, not one person at a time, but one person for the whole day. And it's just really, really hard. Yamuna said, kind of like the pic of the snowman, the boiling hot, weird energy of fear related to COVID, the melting marshmallow of feeling like there's melting with the constant changes, but finally the smile of trying to celebrate the little things. Now the arms and legs of that snowman are not synonymous with how my body is feeling. Good, I'm glad.
I'm really impressed with like the whole visual with that. I just put it on there because I thought of winter, but no, that's
awesome, right?
Yeah.
And Luan, Tammy's giving Luan prayers for her family.
Yes, definitely. It's and I feel like at the beginning of all this, it was also new, and it was like, I think I kind of almost felt like invincible. Like, well, I don't know anybody that's sick, and I'm not going to get sick, and I don't usually get sick. So it kind of just that attitude of like, I'm fine. But, more and more as time has gone on, fortunately, none of my family members have been sick, but people that I know are starting to lose people. One of my former coworkers just lost a cousin who was only 20 something years old. I mean, I think that kind of hit home a little bit more too. Like, this is real. And, as to do the normal holiday things and travel and be around people, like, I have to keep in mind, like, that this is a real situation. And, my parents are not young. I certainly don't want to expose them to anything. And, there's some more in the chat here.
Yeah, Beatrice says my kiddos feel weird about what's happening. They don't want to go outside for nothing. They're scared. We already gave each other our gifts. And Tammy said, Kassia, I agree. It's getting closer and hitting home more. Too many people we know have died. And my sister, I mean, I guess we have a FaceTime with my sister and my mom and my other my sisters and my mom every week. And my sister Lisa is a nurse practitioner in women's healthcare. And so she's very, she's in the hospital. She's double masked every day. And the stories, just the unpredictability of it, like she confirms that it's not, it's just very, you don't know who's going to die. Like you can have, the president 70 whatever years old and Rudy Giuliani 70 years old and overweight, and they get out fine. And then, somebody 40 years old or 20 years old dies. So, I mean, it is really, really weird. And Christine said, it's my oldest daughter's senior year, and this should be a fun, exciting time for her. So it's hard for her not seeing her friends. But I'm a single mom with 3 kids, just trying to make things special for her and all of them. Although times are tough, I'm blessed we're healthy, and pray for those who have lost a loved one or fighting this virus. Yeah.
Yeah, Christine, and actually my daughter is also a senior. And I almost feel like it's affecting me more than it is her, because, obviously I've lived through a senior year before. And for her, it's just like, well, it is what it is kind of thing. But yeah, it's like, I don't want her to miss out on they didn't do homecoming. They didn't do football games, like all those things that I remember looking forward to, just those traditions. And, I'm like, what's graduation going to be like? Is she even going to have one? Yeah. I think I feel much more overwhelmed about it than she does. I mean, she's just like, well, just kind of go with the flow. But
Michelle says, definitely prayers for Luana and Tamara's families. That's rough, and you guys will be in my thoughts. Christine's congratulating you. And then Yamuna said, I have a senior too, and same, high school has been considered done really since March.
Yeah.
And Linda said, our grandson is also graduating in 2021, and this week they just started back to school in person 4 days a week. And when it says my daughter grew up quick.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that somebody said, I feel like school's been done since March. Yeah, it's like I see her motivation level just like, it is what it is. She used to be so concerned about her grades. And so I mean, I think emotionally, as much as we get stuck thinking about our own emotions, sometimes you have to kind of reach out and see how others are feeling. And I talked to her about it couple weeks ago. I said, because I said, I just see your attitude different. She's like, well, she's like, I'll get my stuff done when it's done kind of thing. And she used to be like so on top of it. And so I've been really trying to motivate her and just, in a nice way without being the nitpicking mom. Like, did you do your homework? Asking her 20 times a day. But I mean, it definitely, I see a difference. And I know that it's, doing school in your bedroom in the dark is not the ideal situation.
Michelle says, my kids are in 4th, 3rd, and kindergarten. So even if this year's end up a total wash, we have time to regroup.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, like, I think people handle it really differently, the current situation. I mean, I know in my family, one of my sisters is like, you know what, if I can't live my life isn't worth living, and that's where. And so she is like, she says, I do what I'm supposed to do. I'll wear a mask. I'm not going to do anything that I'm not supposed to do. But like, I'm going to go out to dinner and I don't think I'm going to get sick. And if I get sick, oh, well, I'd rather live my life this way, and that's her perspective. And my perspective is, oh, you know what? Like, I don't have to go out until 2025. Yeah. I'm like, I'm just scary out there, and I think I'll just stay right here. And
it's nice and warm inside.
Yeah, but I think we got to acknowledge that it's different for different people. And for some people, it's like this is one long extended kind of sick day, and maybe you do learn something about how to, go slow, how not to be like totally stressed out about schoolwork or work, So thanks, Tammy.
Jennifer raised her
think-
hand.
I'm sorry, somebody's raised their hand. Yay. Love it when the people, Jennifer. Jennifer, would you like to say something?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute it. It was.
Oh, awesome.
Our school district is face to face, and I chose to keep my kids home. So my 13-year-old tells me every day that COVID has ruined his life.
Oh,
It'll never get better. So it's so hard because I have 5 kids and he's the oldest. So it's like, even the holidays, like they're just not excited because like we used to leave the house to go do things, but all of my siblings work in law enforcement or healthcare. So we just don't get together with anybody for anything because my middle son has asthma and I don't want him getting it. So it's just, it's funny how much school really does affect them though, even with like, they're not interested in anything.
well, I wonder if what's going to happen after this when they go back to school. Because, like a lot of kids, dread school, right? It's kind of like, I don't like school. But I think a lot of kids are developing an appreciation for school now that they probably didn't have before, Linda says, I think we're all rethinking our lives and choices. Many of the teachers in our program have either gone home to another state or gone for a higher level position. Some older people have retired, etc. And I noticed that, like, in terms of housing, it's really interesting, like, on the one hand, worrying about evictions and people not being able to afford their rent, and that being a huge crisis. On the other hand, the housing market is like booming around me. And there's a lot of, people who are moving from apartments to houses because of the pandemic, because they're like, they liked being in the city and they liked the and they had a baby, but now they were going to wait to move to the suburbs until the baby's in school, but now they're like, I can't be in this tiny apartment cooped up. So it's like it's very different, people's experience and people's choices. I know somebody who was a super in my building, the building manager, and he quit and moved to Tennessee to open a bar during the pandemic with his brother. And it's like, they have takeout at the bar that they opened, and that's what he decided he wanted to do, So I think people are like reassessing what they want to do. A lot of people.
All right, Selena, if you want to move to the next one. So, hey, speaking of positive things, please share some positive things that have happened to you and your family as a result of living through a pandemic, and maybe what are some of the new holiday traditions that you want to continue. I taught my 80-year-old father how to use Zoom. We had to do a practice before we all did it as a family for Thanksgiving with my aunt and my cousins. And my dad was like, oh, this is easy. We should do this more often. Like, I've been trying to tell him for a long time, like, hey, there's a thing called FaceTime. And so, yeah, now that they know how to do it and they think it's cool, and then they're like showing me all the items in their house, like holding up, like, here's a water bottle, and they think it's fun. But I think that's something that just moving forward is going to be fun to do just in general with my family.
Positive things that have happened to you and your family. No new holiday. Amy says no new holiday traditions as of yet, but I'm looking for ideas. I know one thing that we're doing, I mean, this is not a family thing, but it's more of a work thing, is that, usually we do something, a big day, all day staff development day that's a party too, and we have activities, and it's really an opportunity for everybody to get together. And we really love it at Be Strong Families. And this year we have to go virtual. So we have plans for like a virtual scavenger hunt. We have plans for, what is it? Like a mocktail making demonstration that we can do. And we're going to be playing trivia. So it's like, I mean, I don't think that's a holiday tradition will continue, but I think it is trying to kind of have something that is interactive and fun. And we're going to be sending Grubhub cards, like gift certificates, and then some popcorn to all the staff members, so that like when we're gathering, we can eat together. And in my building where I live, they're sending us, instead of having a holiday party, they said they would order a pizza for each of us, which is kind of nice. So let's see. Angelica says she gets to spend more time. We get to spend more time together. That's a great one. And Michelle says, I painted my house, ran a marathon. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Learned how to homeschool. Wow. And build a greenhouse. That definitely wouldn't have happened if things had been normal. Yeah, we'd have no online cafes if things weren't if things were normal. Just being real, we wouldn't have online cafes. Christine said, I found you all. Aw, and I've been able to share amazing webinars with others. Thank you, Christine. I get to spend more time with my kids and connecting as a usually busy family. Mandy says, we got a new puppy, which wouldn't have happened without the pandemic. And I got kitten, which wouldn't have happened without the pandemic. And oh my gosh, it like really changed my life. Jennifer, I taught my mother how to shop online so she'd stop leaving the house. Not the best decision. She has zero self-control.
That's the reason my dad won't let my mom near the internet, because Amazon and my mom would make them bankrupt. But
and Beatrice says, I learned to play Nintendo games with my kids because we share more. As Asena says, working from home a few days a week has helped us. Now I can eat lunch with my son 2 days a week. Dorothy, more quality time with my family, and I got a new cat. I was always a dog person, and now I'm like a cat person. I may be a cat person. Tammy says, struggling to hang on to just a couple of traditions, not even just COVID, but also with moving from Rhode Island to Pennsylvania, we've had to let go of some traditions. The ones we're trying to hold on to are some old family recipes, and everyone gets to open one gift on Christmas Eve, new pajamas. That's a nice tradition.
Yeah, and again, just in general, I mean, I think I've shared before, but I feel like my daughter and I have always had good communication, but as being a teenager, I feel like we've actually seen each other more. I mean, we both work, I worked at home basically for a couple of months, but since then I've been going back and forth to the office, and she has a part-time job and has been working, but I feel like we actually see each other. And when we do, like, she's so excited to tell me every detail of every order at the restaurant that she works at. Which to me sometimes is like, oh, wow. But I understand it's important for her. So I think just that quality time that I think a lot of people are mentioning, the quality time with other people. And, I feel like some of my friends, I almost feel like I've gotten to know them better, because it's like, the people that I've been around, which is not a huge circle, but, that we all have been safe and not catching COVID, hopefully. It's like, you spend time with the same people repeatedly and get to know them and talk about like some deeper topics and things like that, which to me has been really interesting and a good experience.
Yeah, and I've been learning from these webinars too. I mean, Judith, just even this week, in Judith Ehrman Shapiro's webinar, I think maybe my active listening skills have gotten better. Like as there's so much going on for so many people, I've also I feel like my compassion, like even as a supervisor, as a boss, just really, we've always been family friendly, but just really being aware of how much everybody's dealing with and not pushing, but really taking care of each other. I think that's deepened for me. And Michelle says, my 10-year-old daughter has become a crazy cat lady. Now we have 3 cats, and the kids are out in the living room building a huge cat castle out of cardboard boxes as we speak. Cats love cardboard boxes, right?
They love I swear you could have the biggest room ever. If you had like a sock on the middle of the floor, they'd find that sock and lay in it. I don't understand, but they're fun to watch. As a cat mom of 3, I can tell you they all have their little personalities.
I think that the positives of, and I've said this before, but I think the positive just of being, being pushed to the moment, like being pushed to the present, because the past, just I don't know, like I've thought about that or heard about it or cognitively tried it. It's a spiritual objective kind of thing. But I just find that the times push me to just really being very much in this moment because it's safe there, and it's, you know, and it's also like all I can handle sometimes, you know, it's just too much, you know, too much going on.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, you know, after some challenging life experiences a few years back, like I kind of moved myself more to that mindset of it's important to just live in the moment. I mean, of course, plan for the future, but live in those moments and enjoy what you can. But I think it's kind of brought me back to that. And, um, you know, again, being able to talk to other people and hearing their stories. You know, I've been doing the cafes in the community where I work. I've been doing them virtually, and you know, the parents are just like, "When's the next one? When's the next one?" It's so nice to talk to adults. It's so nice to be with people, and seeing their children, because you know, I work with families with young children, but seeing the kids pop on and they point at other kids and they're waving, and it's just that neat social connection that we're making, and I think is so important. And we were talking at work the other day, like it's like we're saving so much time during work being able to meet virtually instead of, oh, this meeting is in a town that's a half an hour away, so you know, you'd be driving over there and then you go to the meeting, then you drive back, you know, so it's almost making like work more productive because we don't have to spend that time driving all over town.
I find that too, that I have more time to just chill, you know. I didn't used to have very much time to just not be doing something intentional, you know, even if it was meditating. It was always from activity to activity. And now I feel like I have much more time just open, you know.
Just time to breathe. I
Mhm.
saw someone that we the three of us panelists here, we all know, put on Facebook today something about the importance of rest and relaxation and how maybe that's something that this pandemic should be teaching us. And it really kind of hit me like, wow, yeah, like just that feeling of, you know, if I'm not busy, I'm not accomplishing anything, to like, I need to take some time and slow down, and it's okay. And if I don't accomplish all the things, like my supervisor at work will say, we're not brain surgeons, you know, so if you don't finish this today, it's okay. And I think that's, you know, just that overall attitude of like everybody just needs to take care of themselves is refreshing, that I feel like more people are thinking that way now.
Yeah, and what you said really resonates with me, Kassia, even on the physical level, that I was talking to somebody who's, you know, in the hospital, and stress, I mean, we don't, you know, you hear stress is a killer, but and so we need to de-stress, but it really actually it is meaning that your body can't heal when it's under stress. Like your body needs to be relaxed in order to be able to heal. And that's why, you know, we lose energy when we're sick and we sleep a lot and stuff, because you need that relaxation in order to be able to heal. And I think that that's true on multiple levels, that you can evolve and get, you know, better as a person, as a human being, in any way you want to. You know, if you feel like you're short tempered and you want to be less short tempered, or if you feel like you're impulsive and you want to be less impulsive, the prescription is kind of the same. It's like deep relaxation, more time just relaxing, you know. So, you know, I think that
No.
pandemic has driven that home for me.
All right. Selena, if you want to move to the last question. So just always, you know, to me, I think is something so important, but how are ways that we can support each other through this time? And I think, you know, people have been mentioning them, but, you know, if anybody's got any final thoughts on how we can support each other, you know, and I guess I'm always one of those people that feels like I'm fine. I don't need support. I support other people. Like I'm okay. But, you know, the first couple of months of this were really difficult for me. I said at the beginning, I was like, ooh, it's like a vacation. And then a vacation where you're stuck in your house is not a vacation, in my opinion. And so, you know, for me, just being able to connect with other adults that, you know, were going through situations and stuff and just being able to talk through it really helped me and kind of, again, it put things into perspective for me too. Like, yes, I might be complaining that I can't go anywhere besides the grocery store, but you know, other people's family members are sick. And so, but just knowing that I've got people out there that I can talk to has been really helpful.
Yeah, and maybe it's just a different question, you know, also like, or expand on your question a little bit, which is like, how are you taking care of yourself during this time?
Yeah.
Like, how are you taking care of yourself? What are you doing that's, you know, beyond the, you know, just as it's worn on? Like, we keep asking this question, but it's still a good question. Is like, how are you supporting others, but how are you also supporting yourself? Angelica says reaching out to others via letter, email, FaceTime, etc. Yeah, I notice myself texting people, you know, just. And Amy says do wellness checks with your friends, family, coworkers, and clients. Be intentional about reaching out to your circle and asking them how they're doing emotionally, physically, spiritually, etc. And then, Amy, I think it's, what do you think in terms of like what you do next? Like if somebody says to you, like if somebody says to you, because I did say that to somebody, asked me how I was doing, and I said, I'm having a rough week. What do you do next after the person says I'm having a rough week? Acknowledge that that's a normal feeling. Mm-hmm. I think
looks like Amy wants to
like
unmute.
To talk about it. What?
It said Amy said she wants to unmute.
Oh, good.
If I'm reading that right.
Which Amy? We have two Amy's.
Okay, Amy, whichever Amy wants to talk, feel free.
No, I lost it. There she is.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just would do the same thing that people have been saying, like ask if they want to talk about it, but just like offer support is like the main thing that I do. And I work at a family success center, so that's the main thing that we do is just try to offer support and connect them with resources like if you know of any. But sometimes there aren't resources. Sometimes there's like a really specific need and there aren't resources. So in that situation, I just try to be there for support because like Tamara said, like sometimes talking about it is just what they need.
Mm-hmm.
So like being an active listener and being there to talk about it.
Thank you, Amy. And I'm wondering, like, we've got the empathize, let them talk, ask questions, validate their feelings, let them know you're available if they want to talk or hang out. And then Michelle's talking about learning to be more empathic with their kids, acknowledging they're experiencing real grief about not being able to see their friends, and sitting with them in their grief. And I've learned how to take their kid problems seriously, really deep. That's important. I think even adult problems, like it's like take people's truth, honor other people's truth, and reach out to people that you normally don't talk to. Michelle says, I also think that people have been able to open up when things aren't going great rather than just pretend that everything's fine. And I think we've all learned how to be more empathic when people open up. I feel that resonates with me too, Michelle. I guess what I'm wondering is, does anybody else ever feel like you want to be there, you want to help hold it, you want to let them talk, but then afterwards, or with doing that for a lot of people, especially, and having your own things going on, that it just starts getting to be a lot too much, and then what do? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like it's like, yeah, it's easy to say, let them talk, but what happens when, and I want to be there for them, but then I've taken it on.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to use the word like open a can of worms, but because I mean, there's a lot of things that people need to share and talk about. But yeah, it's like not necessarily knowing what they're going to say or what they're dealing with, how that's going to affect me and how it's going to, you know, maybe that's something I've been dealing with, but I haven't been talking about. You know, it's like sometimes brings up different feelings, different emotions that maybe I don't want to think about, but at the same time, yeah, it's like you don't want to close yourself off and tell people like, no, I think a lot of people have been mentioning empathy, and I think that's something that as a society we really all need to kind of work on. And this is giving people the opportunity to use empathy, but like you're saying, Kathy, at the same time, sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, it can just be overwhelming to take on other people's.
Right. And Yamuna is saying, I just
Situation.
don't have the bandwidth, and I'm honest with myself about that. Deidre said, yeah, I've had to learn to tell people, I'm sorry, I just can't take this on right now, or I need a break right now. And Tammy says, that's where self-care and boundaries come into play. I have to talk to myself about what's mine to worry about. What can I say a prayer about and let God take over the worry? It's just in my not just in my personal life, but in my work life. And Amy says, I agree. Sometimes it can get dangerously close to compassion fatigue. And Mandy refers us again to Brene Brown about empathy versus empathy. Yeah, I've seen that.
That's a great video.
And it's a great video. It is. Yeah, I've also found myself like something, I'm not gonna share the details with all of you but something really terrible happened in my building about a month ago that I only learned about this last week. And it's horrific what happened and unimaginable. And yet and I need to talk about it sometimes. And yet I'm always aware, like after I've shared it with someone, it's not even mine. Like, it's not like it didn't happen to me. It's not, but it happened around me and it happened in the place that I live. And I'm always aware, like after I share it, that I have just shared something really big and awful with people, you know? And I don't think I was very conscious of that before the pandemic, or as conscious of that before the pandemic, of really trying to be empathic about what the other person, protecting other people from more taking on more. I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Yeah, like I feel like you're saying like we're all maybe a little bit more aware of what we're taking on or what we're listening to, because I think because we haven't had the same type of interactions, like, you know, if you're at work all day, you're doing this and you're doing that, you're talking to people. So now it's like almost a more intentional time when you do sit down and talk to someone, that chances are you may talk about a lot more personal things in a small period of time. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to overwhelm my friends, but at the same time, like there's certain people that I want to talk to about certain things. And then I feel like I just opened like a faucet and I'm like, you know, here it goes. And then I said to being able to take a step back and saying, okay, I just dumped a lot. Like, what's going on with you?
Yeah, and what Brene Brown, one of the things, Mandy, you remind me of, one of the things in that video is, you know, you don't always have to say something, right? You don't have to fix it. You don't have to say something. It's just kind of being there, you know, or like that was one of my takeaways from that video, is just kind of just keeping somebody company where they are, you know, but not having it be, not taking it on, or not trying to fix it, or not trying to control it. Just, I found myself really practicing being open, you know, and trying to like hold, but then let it also go, you know, let it, you know, catch it and then let it go, you know, like hold it with the person and then let it go, but not having to like address it, you know, or problem solve or brainstorm, or, you know, it's not like that. Mandy, what about the video struck you? Like what is it when it brought it to mind? What part of it was? can you raise your hand maybe and talk, or not raise your, you don't have to raise your hand, but if you could summarize it for the group or talk about what the most important takeaways. Yeah, Mandy's there. Selena, you can unmute her.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a lot of things. I run a mentoring program for a school district. So really having to remind our mentors what you just said, that the solution is not necessarily what sometimes we think people are looking for. The solution is found in the fact that they're not alone in that, right? So I'm going to come walk beside you in this, but there are no words I can say to take away the hurt. There is no magic thing I can do to make the pain or what you're dealing with go away. But the fact that someone else is carrying it with me, that's the answer, right? And for me, the takeaway was the action step of being careful with the at least, right? So when someone says, oh, I hate, like, especially kids, somebody said it earlier, right? So your high school kid, my kid's a freshman, says, I hate that I can't go see my friends. And you're like, well, at least we haven't had a family member die. Okay, so what you just did was teach them that there's a weight to the things they're grieving, which it impacts us the same, right? And so I think that for me, that was an action step that I'm very conscious of when I am listening to somebody or talking. And I realize that it's not for me to have the answer to all the problems, but it is for me to make sure that people feel seen, heard, and valued. And I can do that, right? I can do that just by saying I'm here. And no words take it away. I equate it, and then I'll stop talking, to when you're walking through the airport and you're carrying, or maybe not the airport, but you're carrying a whole lot of bags with you. And somebody comes over and offers to help carry your bags for you. They're still your bags. Like, it's still my stuff to carry, but I'm not having to carry it alone. So the weight feels lighter and it feels more doable. So that video, I think, just gives us some reminders of how to be on the receiving end of things that are hard to hear.
Thank you so much, Mandy. That was great. That was really helpful. Michelle says she loves that. And just on the carrying, I want to share a story that happened a number of years ago now. My therapist gave me homework, and he said, okay, so I want you to get a backpack and put a whole bunch of rocks in the backpack. And then, with a friend, you're going to be, and we were go to a hill, like where you have to get to the top of the hill and be with your friend. And she got it amazingly. Like I said, okay, so I'm going to put in the backpack, and then I'm going to put the backpack on, and then we're going to walk to the top of the hill. And then I was supposed to let the rocks out of the backpack and skip down. Okay. And my friend Lisa did it with me. And one of the things she said as we were walking up the hill, she was like, you notice I'm not offering to carry your backpack because you have chosen to have all those rocks in it. She said, that's your choice. You chose to load up, and he told you to put a few rocks in, and you put like 100 pounds of rocks in there.
Overachiever.
and then at the top of the hill, when I let the rocks out of the backpack, and then I had an empty backpack, and then I she held my hand as we skipped down the hill together. And it was just like, I mean, it's a different, it reminded me because of the carrying thing, but it also just like the choices we can make for ourselves about how much to carry, and what to let go. And that, I think, is like a constant in the moment.
Yeah.
You can make that decision. Like, and I think, Tammy, you were talking about this in terms of, what can I say a prayer, let God take over the worry? Like what is our strategy for surrendering and letting things go, but also being open to good things coming into that space, being open to the weightless feeling of skipping without a backpack, so.
Oh, I really like that analogy, and maybe I'll make my daughter do that someday when she's complaining too much. Put all the rocks on. But really, I mean, I think it's a good way to put things in perspective, like you said, and we're making those choices consciously or unconsciously to carry a lot of stuff with us. And sometimes taking those times to rest and relax and meditate and let that stuff go is really, really important. And it's going to make our load lighter. And then sometimes it may be, if our load is lighter, it may be easier for us to be empathic with other people and take the time to listen to them when we don't have so much that we're carrying around as well.
Yeah. Whew. Well, that was awesome. Any last comments from the group before we start closing down? Tammy says, I felt lighter just thinking about skipping down the hill without the rocks. Think of how much lighter people might feel after they've carried their own stuff and overcame it. Yeah, and it was also nice to be holding hands with Lisa. Do you know what I'm saying? Like to have a friend there who was with me for the whole journey. And it was like obviously a metaphor, like she's there while I'm struggling with whatever I'm struggling with, you know, and she's there and she's witnessing it and she's being my friend through it. She's not taking it on, but then she's going to celebrate when I let it go. And she'll be there with me to celebrate. Yamuna says, thank you so much. Time to go on a hike with that backpack full of rocks. Yeah. And then make sure you do the part about letting them go.
Did you, I think, I'm not sure if you saw Mandy's comment. It was up a little higher.
Oh, no, I didn't. If I'm holding a bottle of water for a minute, it doesn't bother me. If I hold on that same bottle of water for a day, it starts to affect me. Sometimes it's not what we're carrying, but how long we choose to hold on to it. That's true. And then I used to do that like with yoga practice. There was one thing where, you know, just put your arm up, like hold your arm up in front of you. You can't see because my virtual background, but if you hold your arm up for a minute, like it's not heavy, it's not hard at the beginning. But then the longer you hold it up, the more hard it gets, right? I mean, the more difficult it gets and it starts to ache and you start saying, why am I holding this darn hand up? And then you can watch your mind with what your mind does when you're stressed, because that's exactly like it's stress. And so it's like, what is your mind? How does your mind, and everybody's mind is different, but how does your mind go when you're under stress? Does it start beating you up? Does it start getting aggressive and angry at other people? Does it start feeling weak and defeated? You know, it's like you watch your mind, what you do, and then let go of it.
Thank you. And thanks to everybody. I know this.
I'm glad you're going to text your friend Jessie and thank her because she's your Lisa. That's awesome. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, everybody. Can you please launch thank you for riding the Coronacoaster today. Thank you.
There we all are.
Questions. Lena, can you launch the poll? Obvious. Awesome. And I will just close us out with our closing thing. You're welcome for the support. Thank you for all the thanks. So we're to another week next week, and we have Shanna Ehrlich is going to be here on Monday with supporting children and families through incarceration. And Shanna is a volunteer from the community, and Sandra is also a volunteer from the community, and she's going to be, it should say communications, not communication skills for parents, planting the seeds in your children's garden. Judith Ehrman Shapiro will be back on Wednesday with part 3 of the corrective perspective on empowerment and trauma. It's fabulous. And I've learned so much from her. The first 2 are on our website. You are totally welcome to go get them. And then we have a treat. I don't know if some of you have been here for a long time. During the summer, our COO Guy and Nelson Velasquez, you know, did humor, and it's about laughing. And it's not laughter yoga, but it's really about having fun and letting go a little bit. So that's Thursday. And then Project Vita is back on Friday with helping families avoid the dangers of social media. So that's what we have for you, our buffet next week. And then, yes, Tammy, they got improv, which is oh, wow, yeah, saying a lot. So what do we want to amplify? What's going to make a more perfect union? What energy from today, out of today's webinar, riding the Coronacoaster, the holiday edition, what would we want to amplify that's going to create a better A better world. I heard a lot of hashtag amplify empathy.
Yeah, that's what the word that was going to come out of my mouth too.
Yeah, hashtag amplify hang in there. Hashtag amplify compassion. Hashtag amplify climb that. Yeah, positivity. I think also hashtag amplify let it go.
I was
surrender.
You know, you're reading my mind.
I have
the Frozen song was going through my mind. Let it
what
go. From Frozen, the let it go, let it go. I don't know all the words, but
okay.
From the movie Frozen.
Ditch the rocks, yes, LOL. And then there's also the whole amplify self-care, of course. That's awesome. What else? I think relax and evolve. I mean, hashtag relax, hashtag amplify relax. One day at a time.
Be kind to yourself. You know, we're all going through this together. At the same time, we're all going through it on our own pace and our own way. And just to say it's okay.
Awesome. Next slide. We only have 1 more minute, so show your love. We are doing our end of year fundraising campaign. If you like these webinars, please just take a minute and go online and give what you can to keep it going for next year. We don't have a funding source, and we do have expenses related to them. So if you would be so kind as to contribute. I feel like I'm like doing an NPR plug right now, you know, because it's like, we bring you this content. If you like it, show your love. And then don't forget to wear a mask. And we have some great masks. This Amplify Health, the Amplify masks are awesome. And this is the Speech Bubble Butterfly. And I just want to say that I've given some of these masks to people, and they say that they're like incredibly comfortable. They're soft. They don't hurt your ears. They don't hurt your face. So buy a mask. And then I think the final thing is just if you or your colleagues would like to host a webinar with us, meaning if there's some topic that you feel needs to be covered that hasn't been, or that should be covered in more depth, or that you want to have a conversation, or you know somebody who would do a great job, please email me. I'm accessible. We'll set up a talk, and then we'll have time to talk, and then we'll get it going. We're co-creating this together, and we couldn't do it without you. So Linda says, do things you haven't done for a long time, find yourself, and take the time to discover what you really want out of life. Thank you, Linda. I'm gonna take that advice. And then amplify, reach out and touch. Is there a promo code for the items? No, it's just going into our store. But if you make a donation of a certain level, I think anybody who makes a donation gets a mask, you know, at a certain level. So if you want a mask, we're also doing mugs, but if you want a mask or a mug, it's just give us a little bit of money and give you a free one, or you can buy a mask by itself. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Selena, in the background, for making it work. Thank you, Bridget. Great. Ramon says, thank you for today. Feels good to be back. Everyone stay safe and take care. Have a nice weekend. And thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for participating. It was nice to meet you virtually.
Take care.
Right,
next
bye-bye.
time, Cassie is getting a new computer, so she'll be not fuzzy.
Hopefully. Someday you'll be able to actually see what I look like, which may or may not be good.
You're beautiful. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.